Yo, what's going on guys, this is AZ here, and today we're going to be looking at Assassin's Creed Syndicate's different graphical options, and we're going to be testing out every graphical option separately to determine that at what point in the performance does that graphical option set you. Like, how much performance decreases or increases will you see by enabling a graphical option specifically. So first of all guys, I'm going to be telling you my test methodology, and that's that I just selected a random path down the street in London, and I walked down that path with every setting that I used in the game. With that out of the way, to get a base point in my performance, I used all low settings with which we are going to be comparing every other graphical options percentage of decrease or increase do we get after enabling that. So without further ado guys, we're going to be heading into the results. So yeah guys, our base readings on low settings are average frames per second of 52.931, minimum of 40, and maximum of 67 frames per second. So this is the point from where we are comparing every other graphical option to. Yeah, so the first one we have is environmental quality. So by enabling mid environmental quality, we get an average of 52.771 FPS, which is a decrease of 0.3% approximately from 52.931. That's not much of a decrease guys, so I think that pretty much everyone who's playing the game will be able to use this graphical option. Moving on ahead with the high settings guys, we have an average of 52.544 FPS from an average of 52.931 of base, and that sets us back to 0.731%. Not much of a decrease here to lower than 1%, so pretty much everyone is going to use high settings. With the very high settings guys, we get an average of 51.137, and that's a decrease of 4%. And 4% decrease according to me is not so much, so you should use these settings very high. But with the ultra high, we get an average of 49.145 frames per second, and that's a decrease of 7.152% approximately, an 8% decrease. That's an average decrease guys. Around 10% is an average decrease for me, and I think that the GPUs that are in the mid-range like 280X, 380, 285 are going to be the GPUs to use this setting only. So moving on ahead guys, we have the texture quality. From the base reading of 52.931 frames per second, where our texture quality is at low, when we set the mid textures, we get an average of 51.103, which is a decrease of like 3.453%. So a graphics card with a 2GB of VRAM will be able to actually handle these mid textures quite easily. Now moving on with the high textures, we got an average of 42.7 frames per second, and this set us back 20% from 52.931 of base value. So I think these settings, high textures, are quite heavy on the GPU, so if you don't have more than 3GB of VRAM or 3GB of VRAM, don't tend to use them because they will cause stuttering and other issues too. And now moving on with the shadow quality guys. This is where the things get fishy. As you can see on the screen right now, we have an average of 42.931 frames per second at low. Then we move on to mid and we have 52.945. That's a decrease of like 0%. Then we move to high and a 7% decrease, average 48.881 FPS. Then we move on to PCSS, and this is where just the game gets wrecked. 41.208 frames per second. Yeah, that's good. That's really good. We saw in Assassin's Creed Unity that this setting was quite hefty on the GPU as well as the CPU. So it's a 22% decrease in performance. I can just count on that because that actually caused the game to look quite really amazing. But when you move on to the PCSS Ultra, you get average of 2 frames per second. Yeah, I don't know that what NVIDIA users is getting right now, but on AMD right now this is 2 frames per second, and I'm not talking about like slower GPUs. I'm talking about 280X. That's in the recommended requirements of this game. So this is not tolerable. I think this is an issue with NVIDIA because of their proprietary software like GameWorks, which just cripples performance on AMD only. I think that's the issue. but nonetheless, this is not an option to be turned on by anyone. I think no one will turn this on. Moving on, now we go to the ambient occlusion. And we have the SSAO, which gives us 49.885 frames per second, which is a 5% decrease, not so much. And moving on to the HBO Plus, which sets us to 49 frames per second. That's a decrease of 7% from the base value. That's really okay. But the HBO Plus Ultra is where the things get hard again, and this time it's like 15% decrease. Yeah, this is not so much like the PCSS Ultra, but this is again something that needs to be improved in the game. And finally, guys, we have here the anti-aliasing settings, and these settings are pretty much a given in every game. MSA 2x will set you to this in pretty much every game, so you can see on the screen. And guys, I'm using the Catalyst 15.11.1 beta, so that's not the issue in any case. These drivers are optimized by AMD for this game. Now here is the final answer from me, guys. Is the game any good? If you see Assassin's Creed Unity at launch, this game is pretty much good optimized if you don't use Nvidia's personal settings, which is PCSS Plus Ultra, PCSS, HBO Plus, and HBO Plus Ultra, because they set the game so low in the performance that you won't be able to enjoy its experience. And the graphical fidelity that these settings give are not justifiable for the hit that you're getting. So I think Nvidia needs to get their shit together with these and stop doing this thing. That's it from me, guys. I hope you all enjoyed this gameplay that I've been showing you on the screen. And if you like this video, just give it a thumbs up. And any other questions that you have to ask me, just go ahead and ask those questions in the comment section below. I will answer them all. If you want to ask questions that how much performance will you get about your personal config, then I will try to answer them like I did with the Unity. So peace out, guys. This was AZ. I love you all.